watching Force 13's live streaming service.
Cyclone Damien continues to approach the Australian coast this morning with winds of 110 miles per hour. This is Force 13 Live. Welcome to the stream, and I am joined by my team consisting of David, Sam, MJO, and Luke. How is everyone doing?
Good to be here, and welcome to the viewers. Ethan will be hosting the show. An apology for the slight glitch when we did the countdown. For some reason, it activated my webcam, even though I had the settings off. And I think we aren't live. What is going on?
I got on my screen.
Your voice is lagging, like really badly.
Oh.
Hang on, I think we are. Okay, yep, we are live. Apology, viewers. I'm actually monitoring two screens. So, Ethan, you've got all the information, and in the meantime, I have a satellite imagery of the severe tropical cyclone. So, Ethan, what information do you have?
Thank you, David. As he said, this is Force 13 Live. We are covering Cyclone Damien as it approaches the coast with winds of 110 miles per hour and a pressure of 958 millibars. The storm is currently a Category 2 high-end on the Saffir-Simpson scale. An additional intensification is forecast by us to winds of 120 miles per hour before it makes landfall in around 10 hours. I am joined by my team here, consisting of Luke, Parker, David, and Samuel. How are you guys doing?
I am doing fine and
Doing
monitoring
pretty well.
a very dangerous system heading towards the northwestern Australian coast.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm doing fine as well, and I've been somewhat keeping an eye on this storm. I noticed that it's getting pretty close to major hurricane status on the Saffir-Simpson scale, and seems like it's going to intensify to major status up until landfall.
Yep, that is currently on our forecast with winds of 120 miles per hour. Could it intensify even more, maybe up to 125, maybe even pushing Category 4 intensity one. However, Category 4 intensity on the Australian scale with 10-minute sustained winds of at least 105 miles an hour appears likely, and that is on the Bureau's forecast. The Bureau is forecasting Category 3 intensity in around 6 hours from now, and intensification up to Category 4 intensity on the Australian scale as it makes landfall. Now, right now, we are thinking that the landfall location is going to be around Karratha as a Category 4 on the Australian low end, thankfully. But really, this storm could intensify even more if it moves further west. But it could also not even intensify to Category 4 if it moves further east. It really depends on where it moves, will depend on how strong it will be.
Yeah, these next few movements, these eye wobbles, as some people call them, will basically decide how strong the system will be and where the system makes landfall.
Exactly, and it looks like, from my recent observations, there's been a bit of a clearing in the eye, so it's started to become more defined especially on the infrared imagery, that's going to be a concern as the storm gets closer to shore.
And to add on to Sam, the current distance to land, the closest land map, is an island, and it's currently 56 miles from Burrup just out of Karatha, so like 56 miles from the closest land near Australia. So
Yeah, if you weren't monitoring the system earlier today, it went through an eyewall replacement cycle that is just now getting out of and has a way wider eye and starting to get that red line around the eye, which could support a Cat 3 intensity, maybe Cat 4 on the AU scale in the next few hours before landfall.
Our good friend Isaac in our chat room posted some visible satellite imagery of this system, and I must say it's starting to look quite impressive.
Now, would I be right to say at this point that its eye that it's got kind of looks like an old?
Yeah, it's not well defined. It's looks more wobbly, and it seems like it might have to clear it out a bit more for it to really get that definite shape, which you really should keep an eye on, because the eye wall. I'm sorry, not the eye wall. The eye itself is how clearly defined it is, can determine how strong this can be, and could it be a sign of rapid intensification? We currently don't know that right now.
I don't think that the system is going to rapidly intensify because it only has about 10 hours left until it hits land. If you do have any comments or questions, please do leave them in the live chat below. We will answer them in due course as the system pushes towards the. Currently on my screen right now is the Bureau of Meteorology's cone. There is a cyclone warning in effect. The cyclone warning goes from De Grey to Onslow, including Port Hedland, Karatha, down Panawanaka, and Barrow Island, and also extending to adjacent inland parts to include Tom and Puraburdo. The cyclone watch zone extends inland to central Pilbara, including Newman and Mount Augusta. The Bureau are currently giving it Category 3 intensity with 10-minute sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour, that is 90 miles per hour, with gusts to 205 kilometers per hour. The storm is currently moving south-southwest at around 10 kilometers per hour, that is roughly around 8 miles per hour currently, and we are forecasting this movement to continue gradually with a gradual turn towards the southeast as it makes landfall, probably close to Damien.
And Ethan, for our viewers, we were looking at the satellite imagery and I think it's a Dampier radar, and now on the screen we have the current track. The Bureau of Meteorology's Tropical Cyclone Warning Centre is still doing 3 hourly updates, so I'm not sure whether they'll do hourly updates, but the normal procedure is that they'll increase to hourly when it gets closer to land. And we also appreciate any messages or questions to be posted in the chat. Ethan?
Yeah, we do have a comment that has come in. What are the 1-minute sustained winds right now? Force 13 is estimating that 1-minute sustained winds of this storm right now are 110 miles per hour, possibly pushing Category 3 boundaries at this point, given that its eye has opened up somewhat.
I would just like to point out, this system's also going to be a ton of rainfall to the areas it's affecting, like Karatha, and some areas could see up to 500 millimeters of rainfall, according to the GFS.
That is quite the large amount of rainfall. So, Luke, what are you thinking storm surge wise for this system?
You could probably see up to 10 feet. I haven't really looked at it a lot, but if someone would like to pull up that graphic, my guess would probably be around from 10 to 12. But I haven't really done that much research on it, so I'm not sure if that's a good answer or not.
I'm just bringing up the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre's information, and I've got one of Isaac's satellite images on the screen. The Joint Typhoon Warning Centre, they update every 6 hours. They have it located about 134 nautical miles west-northwest of Port Hedland, tracking south-southwest at 5 knots. And animated enhanced infrared satellite imagery depicts tightly wrapping convection with an approximately 12 nautical mile eye. And I haven't had a chance to look at the ASCAT imagery. Ethan, what are we running with for intensity for the knots and knots?
We are currently running with 95 knots with intensification to 105 knots, likely before landfall, 1 minute sustained.
Right, and the sea surface temperatures are 29-30 Celsius, and during our live event we'll have a look at the wind shear. Wind shear is 10 to 15 knots. Excellent poleward outflow channel. Contribute to an overall favourable environment for continued development through the forecast period. So, Ethan, what are we saying? Possibly Cat 4. We know that the Tropical Cyclone Warning Centre in Perth are forecasting, when you look at the chart, Category 4 system on the AU scale.
Yep, I think that the forecast for Cat 4 AU is pretty reasonable. Low end at that, only probably going to reach 90 knots, 105 miles per hour. That's the limit for Cat 4 on the Australian scale down there. It'll probably reach it as it makes landfall, and then it'll gradually weaken in as it moves in. How fast will that weakening be? We don't know. It could be slow due to this area of Australia being relatively. Storms have been known to weaken quite slowly as they move inland. So locations like Tom Prince, Parabuda, and Panawanuk, look out for this storm. Just because that you are several miles inland does not mean that you will not receive effects from them.
Now, what I'm going to do, Ethan, I'll bring up the 512 kilometre loop, the radar loop. Viewers, you'll be able to see it on the screen shortly. And we do have other warnings in place. There is a flood warning. Storm surge is going to be a issue. I haven't checked the high tide and low tide, and we should keep in mind that the area is flat, and Jason, who operates the AU channel with me, he posted a image of the warning area, the flood watch, and I think it's to the south of Karratha.
And some of these commands coming on and are bringing some places around to 55 million an hour, and then just just north of Carafa, there are a couple of bands that are coming in that are 65 to 70 millimeters an hour of rain. So rain's going to be pretty drenching from here on in until the storm passes.
We do have a question that has come in. What are the risks of tornadoes in this area? Now, David, are Australian cyclones known to produce tornadoes down there?
For the Western Australia region, I'm not sure, but I'm just going to bring up. I'm going to look at some information, and for our viewers, as one or two managers or three managers for the AU channel, the videos that I produce do have the instability, storm probability, supercell probability. So I'm looking at the instability, and the area seems to be a bit quiet for intensity for the instability. That's a tricky question. Perhaps in a future update I might be able to provide an answer. I would have to check with Jason, but that is a good question.
Now, what were we looking at for rainfall earlier? I know that you said, Luke.
So I was just looking at the rainfall totals that the Bureau of Meteorology was going for, and it's anywhere from 400 to 500 meters at most. Millimeters at most. And at some other areas, you could see up to 200 millimeters and 300 millimeters. I'll convert those to inches if anyone wants those, but most people being affected by that are going to want millimeters, because that's metric system.
I'm going to bring up the rainfall information from the Bureau, and for our viewers, I am actually in control. Ethan's helping with the hosting, and it's just a matter of switching the screens. But we'll have a look at the total forecasts of rain for the next 8 days. It is a developing situation. Not only Damien, even for the entire, or 3/4 of the east coast of Australia.
Indeed, we are looking at a Invest over there, Invest 91p, I believe it's.
Yes, it is. It's 91p. Yeah. And I'm keeping a close eye on that one. And on the screen, Ethan should be the Bureau's total forecast of rain. And the rainfall scale is the right-hand side of the screen. And
Yep, so we're potentially looking at 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall as the system pushes in. So we could be seeing some flooding issues as the system pushes inland.
Yeah.
Now, David, will the system help with the terrible wildfire situation over there?
Yes, we will have a look at the tracks and the models during our broadcast. And Rowan, I have cited your comment or question. The current weather scene has reduced the fire activity considerably. For New South Wales, there are a few fires still going, but this rainfall is helping. And I knew personally that the conditions would improve, and when you look at what Damien's doing, let's go to track down into South Australia and probably come into Victoria or even the western part of New South Wales. And this is only the beginning. As Ethan said, we've got 91p, and to the east of 91p, we also have 93p.
Yeah, both are going to be threats to islands and land areas later in the next week or so. If you could transition to my screen, I have a floater for Cyclone Damien, and right now we can see a lot of convection on its western side. Now, if what you want to see for a strong cyclone is that convection goes all around the eye. And if that convection can get all around, which probably not, but it does have around 8 more hours over water, you could see some more intensifications and probably into a strong Cat 3. But that's just a what if situation. And a lot could happen in 8 hours. So people should just keep a close eye on that.
Yeah, just keep it on the screen, Luke. I've just got to bring it up. Okay, now we have it on the screen for the viewers.
Yeah, but if you can see on the latest imagery, you can see all that convection around the eye wall on the western side, northwestern mainly. And if that can wrap around the entire eye, you could see some more intensifications before landfall.
There's no doubt. Go on, Ethan.
Well, we are now joined by a new team member here. We are joined by Lucky.
Hello?
So what are your thoughts on this system?
So, I think that it's a pretty serious system. It's looking like it's going to reach major cyclone status, Category 3 equivalent, and could potentially be maybe high-end Category 3, Category 4 at landfall is my guess. The main threats seem to be surge and rainfall related with this one, from what I'm gathering.
No,
it's
sorry.
mainly going to be.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Luke.
Sorry to interrupt you, but some people are wondering how fast the system is moving.
It's moving around currently 8 miles per hour. I believe that's around 11 kilometers per hour. And it is moving, according to the Bureau, south-southwest. Though I would be willing to argue that it's moving south at this
point. Right. And it's gonna take almost a sort of south-southeast turn. The Bureau's map is showing that. And the Bureau is also expecting it, doesn't show it, but they've been expecting Category 4 Australian scale landfall.
Yeah.
That is on their forecast.
And to repeat what Ethan said earlier in the stream, the more more western the system gets, the more likely this intensifies more. The more east the system gets, the more likely it's going to be weaker. And all those slight eye wobbles, it's going to make a very big impact on how strong the system gets and where it's going to make landfall.
Right. So, and looking at the map from the Bureau, you can also sort of see just how far the winds are going to get inland. The map is showing that even like places like Mount Augustus, Newman are under cyclone watch, and places like Tom Price and Parabudu, I don't know. I butchered that.
Parabudu, no, you got that pronunciation, well, spot on.
Thanks. And other places sort of close to the coastline and even a little bit inland are gonna see some potential damaging winds and power outages. So it's something to watch out for.
As we always say, the effects from a tropical cyclone aren't just at the coast; they do extend it inland. So that is important to.
Yeah, and hopefully that rainfall can get down to southern Australia.
Now, what I'm going to do is bring up the wind field, and this is the HWRF model.
Now, I saw earlier that the HWRF model was forecasting intensification up to 125 miles per before landfall occurs. Do you think that that's going to occur, David?
Well, the Bureau is still saying a Category 4. It's still got time. I was saying off air that it appears to be tracking west-southwest, and if it stays off the coast, naturally it's going to intensify. And I now have the wind field up on the screen, and they're still saying a Category 4 landfall. And as I mentioned earlier, the next update is in about an hour and a half. And what I'm waiting to see is whether they increase to hourly updates. It could be later on this afternoon. We just don't know what the landfall time is going to be. But Ethan, you want to discuss that?
So what's going on right now is that it's starting to slow down, which is making this landfall time a bit harder for us to predict. I'm pretty sure earlier today and yesterday that we're predicting a landfall in around 3 hours of this time. And as we can see, this is drastically changed. And this might allow the system to get stronger, more rainfall, and more impacts everywhere. And that storm surge definitely don't want to be on the coast at that time. Even though this isn't yet officially a Cat 3, we haven't said it is yet, it's still going to bring some storm surge there, and you definitely have to watch out for that.
Now, Ethan has just stepped out of the studio for a few minutes, so I'm in his chair. However, Biometeorology WA has a flood warning in place for the Pilbara coastal rivers. This was issued nearly 24 hours ago. Flooding expected to develop in the Pilbara coastal winter catchments, including the towns of Port Hedland, Karratha, Dampier, Roebourne and Wickham. Heavy rainfall associated with the severe tropical cyclone expected to cause significant stream level rises, widespread flooding, and that commenced last night and will continue into Sunday. Pilbara coastal rivers rainfall totals for Friday through to Sunday will range from 100 millimetres furthest from the cyclone's path to 350 millimetres, with isolated higher falls possible closer to the cyclone track. Rainfall is expected to be heavier, with rainfall rates of up to 50 millimetres an hour, and for 3 hours 130 millimetres. Heavy rainfall is also expected to result and significant weather rises, areas of flooding adversely affect road conditions, and I have no doubt that the roads will be cut. Some roads may become impassable, and some communities may become isolated.
Now, David, what do you think the pressure of this system is right now?
That's a good question. I'm just looking at probably below 969 millibars.
Yeah. Now, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be any more warnings issued, like a bit more high wind warnings, red alert, for the coast or maybe the inland?
The Tropical Cyclone Warning Centre over in Perth has part of their advisory. I'm just bringing it up.
I can actually pull that up right now and list it up right now. So here are the hazards right now. Gales are occurring along the coastal fringe of central Pilbara between Roebourne and Cape Preston, and should extend to remaining areas along Pilbara coast between Port Hedland and Mardi, including Karatha and Dampier this morning. Destructive winds with gusts to 150 kilometers per hour are likely to develop between Roebourne and Cape Preston late this morning as the cyclone approaches the coast. And very destructive winds with up to 230 kilometers per hour are expected near the cyclone center as it crosses the coast early this afternoon. And you continue, please.
I'm just going to bring up the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre's track. The government in WA has in place they've activated their alert system. The red alert is current for people in or near Wim Creek to Mardi, south to Millstream, including Wim Creek, Point Sampson, Cossack, Wickham, Roebourne, Karatha, Dampier. Need to go to shelter immediately. Yellow alert is also in place for people in or near Port Hedland to north of Wim Creek, south to Wittenoom, including the town of Port Hedland, north of Wim Creek, Barrow Island, Panawanica. Need to prepare for cyclonic weather and move to shelter. Blue alert is also in effect for people in or near De Grey to Port Hedland, Mardi to Onslow, but not including Onslow, including Tom Price, Paraburdoo, De Grey. Need to prepare for cyclonic weather and organise an emergency kit. So the red, yellow, blue alerts are now in place.
Now, I'm just wondering for people not in Australia and some American viewers right now, what do red alert, yellow alert mean for implications in Australia?
The information I've just read out is I'm just going to bring it back.
Yes. So how do these alerts compare to, say, the warning systems in the Philippines, as well as the ones like issued by the National Hurricane Center in the U.S.?
Well, yellow is the most severest.
Isn't red the most severe, though?
I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah, because
red alert is the main one. Yellow, blue. So it's red, yellow, blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much the red alert means that you need to take immediate action. The yellow alert means that you need to take action, and the blue alert means that you need to pretty much be on watch. So red alert is pretty much take action immediately. Yellow alert is take action in a few minutes, and blue alert is is kind of a alert.
Apology, viewers. I just had to get. My fate just got the better of me. However, I should also bring up this information on hurricane force wind warning is now enforced for the Pilbara coast and the Pilbara coast west. That's Pilbara coast east and west. Strong wind warning for the Nigaloo, Gascoyne, Geraldton, Leeuwin, Albany, Esperance coast. So hurricane force wind warning is now in place for today, and for tomorrow it reduces from hurricane to storm force for the Pilbara coast. A gale warning will be in place for the Pilbara coast west, and a strong wind warning gets expanded out for the Perth local waters. A strong wind warning for the Perth local waters, Nigaloo, Gascoyne, Geraldton, Lassisland, Perth, Bunbury Geography, Leeuwin, Albany, Esperance and Ikuda coast. And we are about an hour and a half before the Bureau updates again.
David, the Bureau has commenced hourly updates. So they're doing hourly updates now.
Yeah, I think they just updated the cone. Maybe. It doesn't look the same as it used to.
Yes, half an hour ago.
Yeah,
so
they
9:37. That's 7:02. They've updated. So, Ethan, you got the information, or you want me to read it out?
I can post it in.
Severe tropical cyclone Damien causing gales over the central Pilbara coast. Very destructive winds, very heavy rainfall, storm surge expected as Damien crosses the coast near Dampier early this afternoon. The warning zone is degrade to Onslow, including Port Hedland, Karratha, Dampier, Panaronica, Barrow Island, extended to adjacent inland parts to include Tom Price and Paraburdoo. The watch zone is inland central Pilbara, northeast of Gascoyne, including Newman and Mount Augustus. Details of the cyclone: Category 3, sustained winds in the centre of 140 kilometres an hour with wind gusts to 195 kilometres an hour. Located within 20 kilometres of 19.6 degrees south, 116.4 degrees east, estimated to be 135 kilometres north-northwest of Karratha and 245 kilometres west-northwest of Port Hedland. And the severe cyclone is currently tracking south-southwest at 10 kilometres an hour. Ethan.
Thanks for the information, David. Once again, if you do have any comments or questions, please do send them in the live chat, and we will get to them in due course. As this storm continues to push toward the coast with force 13 estimated winds of 110 miles per hour, that may be upgraded at the top of the next.
Now I do have the Bureau Meteorology cone that was issued around 40 minutes ago up on my screen share if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, interestingly, on the new Bureau of Meteorology's cone, they are not forecasting a Category 4 anywhere on the cone. Though I would imagine that they are forecasting a Category 4 at some point still in that cone. They've shifted the point downwards.
It's probably a Cat 4 if you're looking at the cone right now that I'm showing. Around Dampier, around there. But the thing is that it runs in 12-hour intervals, so you can't really put a Cat 4 AU icon right there. So you might have to check the discussion whether it thinks it or not.
So, likely, and we have.
David, correction on that. I think that the Bureau is still saying that Cat 4 is likely, it's just not on their forecast.
Yeah,
Because their actual Cat 4 forecast point,
it's because it runs.
it can't fit on their cone.
Yeah, because it runs in 12-hour intervals. If you see right here, if you see on the arrow next to Dampier, that's probably when it becomes Cat 4 or something around there. But 12-hour intervals, you can't put that on the map.
David and Ethan, if you want to have my screen share up, I'm showing some of the latest images from RAM. I'm going to put it up there. The eye is definitely sort of rounded itself out just a little bit. It's still a little lopsided, but it's looking definitely a lot better in the latest frame.
Just give me a minute. I've just got to bring it up and.
And sorry if it's quite pixelated to the viewers. Still working on some stuff on my end.
We have some questions that have come in. What is the landfall intensity prediction in miles per hour? So currently on my screen is our latest forecast from Force 13. We are forecasting a 120 miles per hour landfall at this. That would make it a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, Category 4 on the Australian scale at land. And then we are forecasting dissipation in around 72 hours as it moves inland.
Yep. Now, the thing is that's very interesting about this system is how west the system is going. Now, Ethan, what is the current direction of the system according to your latest frames of satellite imagery?
Come again, Luke?
What do you think the general direction of this storm is right now? Like how west is this storm going right now?
Currently, based on its satellite imagery I would extrapolate its movement to be around southward at 8 miles per hour currently. Judging off of that, I'm not sure how far away it is from landfall. Parker, do you know how far away it is?
I'm checking right now. Last time I checked was about 30 minutes ago. It was from Burrup. It is currently to the closest point in the eye. It is 43 miles, but that is
How far from the
now the closest from the center. It is around 60 miles.
So if you divide that by 8, you get around.
That would mean that we would be looking at landfall there in that location at around 7.5 hours from now.
Oh, yeah,
now, if I can get in Carafa.
That would be of the center.
In Carafa, it is around 73 miles. Carafa. So.
Okay.
So enough of that movement, that would mean slightly over 9 hours from now. So generally, for landfall, we're looking at around 7 to 9 hours from now. And we are forecasting, as I said earlier, a 120 mile an hour land with gradual weakening as it moves inland, with upwards of 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall possible, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, as the system moves inland, along with a 10-foot storm surge along some of the coastal areas. What were you going to say, David?
So landfall will be sometime this afternoon, my time.
But
it's definitely slowing, isn't it?
According to my
Based off of the current satellite imagery, David, I would say that its movement is really at a steady pace of 8 miles per hour. I wouldn't say that it's slowing down or speeding up at all. If anything, it's trying to make that southeastward turn at the moment, which is where it may make landfall closer to Karratha as a Category 4 on the Australian scale currently.
Yeah, according to my estimates, it should be between 6 Zulu and 8 Zulu between that time, right?
Should be around there.
Yeah.
And that means for Australia, for that part of Australia, that would be between, like what, late afternoon?
Yeah,
Around there.
that's what they're saying.
Just to reiterate all the watches and warnings that are currently in effect, a cyclone warning effect. It currently goes from De Grey to Onslow, including Port Hedland, Karratha, Dampier, Panawanica, and Barrow Island, and extending to adjacent inland parts to include Tom Prince and Perb. A cyclone watch also extends inland to Pilbara and northeast to Gascoyne, including Newman and Mount Augustus. The storm is a Category 3 on the Australian scale currently, Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, with winds of 110 miles per hour currently. The storm is moving southward at around 8 miles per hour currently, and landfall is forecast in around 7 hours from now as a Category 4 on the Australian scale, Cat 3 on the Saffir-Simpson.
No, I'm just looking at the updated marine wind warning summary. This was issued 4 a.m. Australian Western Standard Time at February 8th, because they're 13 hours ahead of us, I believe. But right now, the wind warnings for the 8th include a hurricane force wind warning for the following areas: Pilbara Coast East, Pilbara, and Pilbara Coast West, and a strong wind warning for the following areas: Ningaloo Coast, Gascoyne Coast, Geraldton Coast, Leeuwin Coast, Albany Coast, and Esperance Coast. And wind warnings for the 9th include storm force wind warnings for Pilbara Coast East, gale warning for Pilbara Coast West, and strong wind warning for Perth local waters, Ningaloo Coast, Gascoyne Coast, Geraldton Coast, Lancelin Coast, Perth Coast, Bunbury, Geograft Coast, Leeuwin Coast, Albany Coast, Esperance Coast, and Euclid Coast. I am so sorry if I butchered those names.
Now, Ethan, for our viewers, Damien, Category 3 on the local scale. What is it on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale?
At this time, both officially and by Force 13 estimates, it is a Category 2 high-end officially. Well, by Force 13 analysis, it is a low-end Category 2 by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center are only giving this storm 100 miles per hour at this time, though we are going slightly higher at 110. Though this is possible that in the next few minutes we may upgrade it to 115, which would make it a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson.
Now, are you planning to do Saturday anytime soon, or no?
Parker, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How wide is the eye with this system
The eye is current.
at its widest point?
It is currently at this point now around 34 miles wide. From north to south. Now from east to west, it is 29 miles east to west.
So it's a roughly circular eye, actually, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that might score a higher score on Saturday.
If you want to, I have my screen shared up, and I have some of the latest Category 8 dust imagery. If you want to pull it up, the eye is really starting to round itself out. Still being covered by convection, but it's definitely puffing out.
Yep, as this eye continues to become better defined with the system, it does mean that it is intensifying at this time. So, significant amounts of intensification, potentially beating our forecast of 120 miles per hour, could even get up to maybe towards Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale as it nears land. We don't think that it's going to do that at this time because it has such a limited amount of time to intensify. But it is possible that that storm could intensify further than what we are thinking of 120 miles per hour. So it is important that we remain vigilant as the system pushes off towards the coastline, with landfall probably in around 7 hours from now.
Yeah, and people have to remember nothing is assumed when tracking tropical cyclones. Things can turn around in an instant. Well, it's not. It's probably not going to be a Cat 4, but we must keep an eye out and always look at all the possibilities that could occur.
I want to point out also, I just checked, this storm, from my standpoint, is now moving south. So landfall near Carafa could be on the cards unless it starts turning west. Or
I think that a landfall closer to Dampier is more like. That is what I'm thinking.
I'm going to start to screen share this imagery now. Yeah, the eye's starting to clear out more, and those convective outbursts trying to wrap around the eye, probably not going to succeed until landfall, but then again, we must stay vigilant about keeping an eye out for anything.
Absolutely. So with this system, we are forecasting 150 millimeters of rainfall maximum in the landfall area, maybe even pushing a little bit off towards the south. As the system drops that heavy rainfall, you should stay tuned to your local media outlets for additional flood warnings or flood advisories that could be issued for your area. If you do have any comments or questions, please do send them in the live chat below, and we will answer them in due course. So would it be right for me to say that this eye is trying to shrink a little?
I definitely, by the looks of it, honestly, I don't know for sure because I'm not calculating it. But Parker, do you have any idea about that?
it looks as if it is trying to, but it's having a hard time. As convection keeps on blowing over it. It wouldn't be ruling out if it is trying to get smaller, but right now, if it is trying to, it's doing a poor job at it. So.
Absolutely. The last time that I really heard of a storm of this intensity over on the west coast of landfall, I believe, would be back in 2014-15. So it has been quite a while since the western coast of Australia has seen a significant cyclone of this intensity. I believe that Veronica was actually one over here as well. So this Australian coastline is no stranger to tropical cyclones. So, David, would I be right to say that this Western Australian coastline is more susceptible than the eastern?
Oh yes, there's more history over there on the west coast. Mainly, let's say from Darwin, the Arafura Sea, Timor Sea, then down into the South Indian Ocean, and the conditions are considerably favourable for cyclonic activity on the western side of Australia in that the South Indian. It's not unusual for the Bureau of Meteorology to issue cyclone warnings out of season, and I've got no idea when we've had an out of season cyclone over there in that region. Here on the east coast of Australia, we had one out of season. What was it? 2018, I think it was Liu over there in the Fiji. Yeah, I think that was a September system.
And the Australian region also had Cyclone Anne in May last year.
No, I would just like to point. Something out. The center of around the center of Damien, it is around 109 kilometers away, 116 to Dampier. Let me get this straight. This isn't super well, but this is around how far away. Sorry, it's not miles. I mean the BOM and nothing's in miles. And Cape Preston's around 130. Yeah.
I just want to take point that the radius of the eye right now is 28. And that markets to just around 17 miles. So the eye is 28 kilometers wide and around 18 miles wide. So the eye is actually, instead of shrinking, it looks like as if it's growing just a little bit more while it has time to, which is kind of showing signs of strengthening, I guess. So Category 4 is, I'm guessing, getting more likely now as if this eye continues to grow and circle out.
Now I just want to say a heavy rain band is about to pass through Port Hedland as the system continues to edge ever so slightly to the coast.
And we should also keep in mind the central pressure. On the screen is the live radar from the Dampier station, and you can clearly see where the activity is at. You can probably see, 3-4 rain bands, and the Gene Island, the observations, I think the central pressure's down around 994 millibars. They do half-hourly updates, but the observations can be made anytime the extra ones. 74 kilometres an hour, gusting 95, or 40 knots, gusting 51. 993.2 millibars. And we'll have a look at Port Hedland. As soon as I find it. Okay, they have 1003.8 millibars. They've had 28.2 millimetres of rain. They've got east-northeasterly winds, 43 kilometres an hour, gusting 56, or 23 knots, gusting 30. And that's Port Hedland. Karratha is 997.7 millibars. They've had 64 millimetres. They have east-southeasterly winds, 69 kilometres an hour, gusting 87, or 37 gusting 40.
So the pressure is dropping already over there
Yeah.
as the system approaches.
Yes.
As
Now,
you get closer to the center, the pressure starts to drop rapidly, and probably you would see a sub 969 millibar pressure reading if you're in the center of the storm.
Now, over the next few minutes, Force 13 will be reviewing the storm's current intensity, and we'll be making a final estimate in a few minutes.
I want to point out that Burrup is currently 64 miles from the center of the storm, and looking at some of the latest images from RAM, it looks as if this storm's eastern eye wall is literally getting itself together. It was looking pretty questionable, but now it is clearing itself out, and there's a little bit of part from around the southeast that is still a little bit ragged, but this eye is starting to clear out substantially.
would I be right to say that Damien is growing in size or maintaining its size? And Stuart, your comment about Cat 4, it has been, and Ethan, you can correct me, it's been pushed back. It's not showing up on the current chart, but with the Bureau doing 12 hourly, is it likely that it will be a Cat 4? Just reconfirming that it will be Cat 4 on landfall.
While they don't say explicitly on their cone, they are still probably forecasting a Category 4 landfall. Like their forecast point that they mark on their cone doesn't line up with where they want the Cat 4 landfall to, so therefore that it's not actually showing up on the cone.
Now, just looking at other information, as at 23 UTC, but the Bureau, they don't stick to the stated time when they are supposed to release the information. 963 millibars, and it's to be 989 millibars at 9 UTC.
Wow. Well, I have reviewed this storm's intensity, and I will say that we'll be bumping it up to winds of 115 miles per hour and a pressure of 956 millibars, which makes it a Category 3 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. 115 miles per hour, 956 millibars.
Yes,
Yep.
that term, those terms, it would be major hurricane status.
So we're now saying a Category 4 on the AU scale, or still Category 3?
Still, the Bureau should be updating any moment now with their hourly updates. But we have just upgraded it to 115 miles per hour, 1 minute system.
And we're just...
Now the eye continues to become better defined with this now major system as it continues to push towards the coastline.
Yep.
Now, as the latest calculations for how far away this was, I would probably think it's around 7 hours, 15 minutes. Now, with our current estimate, is only 15 miles per hour away from Cat 4. And now, this definitely might become a strong Cat 3. And when you get so close between borders between categories, it doesn't really matter what category it is. It's still going to be super destructive, and we shouldn't worry about how strong will the system become. Like if it's between 125 and 130, if it ever gets to that point, it's still going to bring around the same impacts. Some of the major is going to be the storm surge, and the rainfall. The rainfall could get up to 500 meters. That's nothing to take lightly.
Well,
And we
as I
Sorry.
sorry, Luke. As I mentioned earlier, the rainfall totals over a 3-hour period are going to be significant, and
Uh,
go on.
Sorry, question from the comments. Because do you think it's a low end category 4 or high end category? We had just not too long ago we had bumped it up to category 3 with 150 mile an hour and a pressure of 956 millibars. Category 3 on the Australian, sorry, correction, on the cyber persistent hurricane wind scale. So that would be the current intensity that we had just. So.
Yeah.
Yep, I just looking at everything now, I'm seeing a lot of evidence support with winds of 115 miles per hour at this point. The
Yep.
eye on imagery has really become really pronounced in recent frames.
Yep,
It
and to
might
add on to that,
be a
sorry.
run for. It might be making a run already for Category 4 on these Saffir-Simpsons.
Yeah. And with 7 hours left, certainly could do so. And these next few hours are going to be very important where it makes landfall and how strong the system becomes.
And to add real quick, just getting real estimate, the eye is currently grown to 19 miles wide, radius wise, and then 31 kilometers for metric. So the eye is growing right now. Now, it is having trouble with southeastern side. It's kind of having trouble clearing itself out, but the eye is growing at us for sure. So, the storm's trying to make a run up to Category 4 status. I'm thinking so right now. So,
Yeah, that there's a bit of a break there. It's a slight, but you can see on imagery that not all the cloud tops, that red ring has sort of not fully covered in that break, sort of in the southern Iowa. We'll see how that develops.
yeah.
Right, and another thing is we're starting to sort of see the outer bands come ashore, and more of the coastline is starting to see rainfall. So that's going to be another thing we're going to watch.
And we're just waiting for the BI to update, and I'm going to bring up onto the screen the 128 radar loop.
Yeah.
Now, would I be right to say that this storm would probably be intensified at landfall to 125 miles per hour based on our estimates?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. These next few rains keep saying gonna be important.
Yep, as the storm pushes towards the coastline, these next few hours are going to be quite important for the storm. If its eye wall collapses, which would probably be unlikely at this point, then we could see some weakening, and that would take place. But at this point, it doesn't appear that that's going to be the case.
Yeah. Now this is just a question from me. I'm not sure if this is in the stream yet or not, but what makes this eye wall? What makes you think this eye wall is going to be keep around so far? Like, what do you think? Do you think there's any chance of an eye wall replacement cycle soon? Anything like that, or do you think it's full steam ahead for this one?
Sorry. Right now, just on recent frames, it looks like it's starting to blow up around the southeastern So if this is side of the storm, so we could be looking at another wrap around the eye for this ring. So we could be seeing the eye potentially start rounding out, or if not, could be getting covered up partially with some of this convection that's building up around again. So that'll be interesting. That happened. We could later on be seeing a Iowa replacement cycle. It's likely, but also not likely. So it just depends how well the storm can. If it rounds out its eye, Iowa replacement cycle will most likely be possible. But if it doesn't, then that will not be likely. So take that as you wish. Be doing some estimates right now of the eye, so I'll be busy.
All right, as this system continues to push towards the coast, the Bureau of Meteorology has released their hourly update. They are still going with Category 3 with sustained winds near the center of 140 kilometers per hour. I believe that's 85 miles per hour, with wind gusts to 195 kilometers per hour. I'm not sure what that is miles per hour.
Yeah, and I just want to focus on these cities, not exactly near the actual eye wall that might not be hit, but there are these rain bands that are heading towards these cities. Port Headland about to be hit by a major rain band. You're seeing some yellows and reds there from the Port Headland radar on the Bureau of Meteorology, and a major rain band is heading towards Carlindi, and you're seeing some greens, and I'm seeing some greens and dark greens over there, and all this is from the Port Headland radar right now.
And Ethan, Damien is currently tracking south at 9 kilometers an hour.
Oh, so speeding up.
No,
That is slightly faster.
Yeah.
So it's gone from west. What was it? West southwest to south.
No, it was going south. Wasn't it going south?
Is it going directly south, or is it going slightly west, southwest, or southeast?
Last time I checked, it was going south, but that was around 30 minutes ago, and that could have changed by now. So I'll be checking that now. From what I'm seeing, it is yes, going just due south right now. The way the eye is going, so the storm is going due south. So a landfall actually right near Karatha is possible.
Yep, really a landfall near Dampier, Karatha, maybe even pushing towards Wickham, and maybe far west, as March is still on the forecast, according to the Bureau of Meteorology. Their cone does forecast where the center could go, not the effects of a tropical cyclone. That is very important. Is where the center could possibly be. So the center could go on either side of that cone, really. But
No.
it looks like that they're choosing the center.
No, from what I have on the screen share, I just put on the screen share the Bureau of Meteorology radar from Dampier, and as you can see, not from the center, but these major rain bands all the way down there. The main effects isn't all the effects aren't going to come from that center, and as you can see, it's edging ever so closely to Dampier, and every frame it might get 1 pixel closer or closer every second or so.
Yeah. Really the biggest effects you're gonna see are going to be right on the interior ring around the eye. That's where the eye wall is located.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, which city do you think is going to receive the most impact? Like, which city do you think is going to get on the coast?
Well, it really depends. because you see see how wide the eye wall has become. We could see multiple cities getting the most impacts. I would definitely say Dappler or Dapier and Karatha are probably the most notable among the areas that are going to get hit. But we could also see places like Wickham and some of those other cities along the coast, such as maybe Preston, as far west as Preston, that we could see some of the worst impacts. But it depends on how far west or how far east the cyclone is going to shift.
Yeah.
Now,
It
shortly.
looks like we're outer rain bands. Some of the inner rain bands are now starting to approach the coastline, and that's where you're going to start to see the winds pick up at this point in time.
Absolutely. What I will say, based on current satellite imagery, the eastern and southern sides of the eye wall is intensifying quite significantly at this moment. So
Yep.
we are seeing a definite intensification phase of the system going up, and I would bet that the system would probably make landfall now with winds of 125 miles per hour in around
Yep.
6 hours from now.
Yep, and to add on to what Ethan is saying, just checking up, the eye has grown to around 21 miles in radius. That is 33 kilometers. So the eye is slowly starting to grow with some ring blowing up around the eye. So it's definitely running up for intensification phase right now. So landfall 125 mile an hour is really possible as of now.
Now, I just want to highlight this really quickly. Sorry if I'm interrupting anyone. I don't mean to in any way. But someone asked in the comment section, is it rare for hurricanes to hit there? I'm going to hit this location. And I'm going to direct that one to David because you probably know the most about this.
It's not unusual. You could probably expect this area to receive one system every season. It's just like the tornado alley over there in the States, but it's not unusual. The history is there for the cyclones in that region. And Ethan, I'm bringing up on the screen the late cycle.
Ethan's not here.
Okay, now for our viewers, here's a look at the late cycle intensity guidance. And there's one model that's indicating a category 3. And I think that will be on the Sanford-Simpson hurricane scale. So category 2 will make a category 3 AU. So, and unfortunately, the Sims wind shear information's not available. I think they must still be processing, but in addition to tropical cyclone Damien, we have the developing tropical system south of the Solomon Islands to the north of New Caledonia. Mateo France is monitoring along with Fiji. Fiji Meteorological Service is the primary forecaster, as it is on the eastern side of the Bureau of Meteorology's area of responsibility.
Yeah. And I just want to talk quickly about Nike, and if anyone has any thoughts about it, please just interrupt me. This system will likely develop the coming week and will probably affect the islands near. Now, some models are hinting a southern dive and edging along the eastern Australia coast. Of course, all of this is a bit out around 5 to 8 days, and anything could happen. But this is definitely something for the Eastern Australian coast to monitor.
And the Bureau of Meteorology will update their position around 14:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, and it will be sometime this afternoon before Damien makes landfall.
Well, I just looked at a wind report. Karratha currently has sustained winds anywhere between 37 and 43 miles an hour at the moment. So it looks like tropical storm force winds are now moving in. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah, looks like some of the outer rain bands are heading further inland, so the coast might see a little bit of a break in precipitation before the next more intense rain bands hit the coast.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, and
No, go ahead, Parker, please.
sorry. To add on to that, some of the rain bands are going to be affecting Wim Creek and Karratha. Right? They are showing possible 40 to 45 millimeters an hour, and near Wim Creek, possible 65 millimeters an hour, and at Karratha, possible 50 to 55 millimeters an hour of rain starting to come in. So that's going to be starting either right now or very shortly. So that'll be something to be careful about. Flooding.
No, residents, one of the hazard paragraphs under this advisory that came out at 7 p.m. EST, residents between Dampier and Wind Creek, including Dampier and Karratha, are warned potential of a very dangerous storm tide. And that was saying is basically the storm surge could be very dangerous as the cyclone center crosses the coast, and tides are likely to rise significantly above the normal high tide mark, and damaging waves and very dangerous flooding. So this area along the coast could be flooded once the system hits.
And just looking at the high tides the tide times for Dampier, low tide is 3:51 a.m. Actually, that's not the current information. We'll double check. Low tide 4:34 a.m. and high tide is 10:43. Low tide 4:33 p.m. So basically, high tide will be 10:30 tonight. So the tide will be coming in when Damien makes landfall. This is force 13. What we'll do is at the top of the next hour we'll bring the stream to a close. The information continues to be updated by the Bureau of Meteorology's Tropical Cyclone Warning Centre in Perth. They're the primary forecaster for that region, although at times the Darwin office in the Northern Territory. So people will be bunkered down, and the local radio stations will be broadcasting the information at the top of the hour as soon as the Bureau updates. They've already attached the warning signal. So it's going to be possibly Category 3 or even 4 landfall, but if it hugs the Western Australia coast, the picture changes once again. But the Bureau says that it's currently tracking slowly south.
Yep, the system's moving very slow, but looks like it's trying to start a constant speed, because earlier it said it's moving at 9 kilometers per hour, which is a bit of an increase from our original estimate of how fast it was moving.
And for our viewers, as mentioned early on in the stream, I have a joint manager or position of the AU channel. It's not very often that I actually go live on the main channel. And if you're wondering where Nathan is, he's over in Germany. Nathan was invited to attend a space launch, but he'll be back at his HQ on a Sunday of this week. So we appreciate your support, and it'll be about another half an hour before the Bureau updates.
And just to point out, a quick update on the eye, and currently it actually has shrunk to around 17 miles. So that is 27 kilometers, and the closest point to land, which is Burra, is the center of the storm is 62 miles, and from Karratha, that is just around 73 miles from the storm center. So with some of this eye collapsing, it is actually making some of these land places just a teeny bit more farther away.
So how big was the eye originally?
Just around 10 minutes ago, the eye was around 21 miles wide, which was 33 kilometers, and now the storm is around 17 miles wide and 27 kilometers wide. So it is definitely shrinking with some of this collapse of the southern eye. So yeah.
That's a 4 kilometer. I mean, that's a 4 mile difference. That's a bit big.
Yeah. So it's the southern side is definitely having some issues right now, especially the southwestern side with having convection. But in recent frames, it's starting to blow up some convection, but that southwestern side is having real issues with keeping convection up around there. So that's going to be one big inhibitor for the storm and keeping it intensifying. So yeah.
Now on the screen I've got an EPS track guidance for Damien. So once it crosses the case, and it will go down further south, then start to curve southeast and possibly cross the southeastern region of WA, as probably to the east, or could be where the Margaret River is, in the southern region of WA. And it remains interesting to see whether South Australia will get any activity. So that's a look at one track.
Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering, I just want to ask most people in the call, in the live stream right now. How strong do you think the system is right now? Do you think it's 115, or do you think it's a bit stronger than that at the moment?
Sorry, go ahead.
My current prediction is that it's 110. I wouldn't really say major yet due to the fact of its eye currently. But the pressure, in my opinion, is at 959.
Sorry. Right now, I put the storm currently at 120. Just 120 and 956 millibars. So, now if the eye does continue to deteriorate like it is, I could change that. But right now, I'm going with 120 and 956 millibars.
I mean, if I see some buildup with the eye, if the eye improves, then I could upgrade it to category.
Yeah.
It's definitely borderline nonetheless.
Yeah.
But either way, whether it's category 2 or 3, this is still a major 3.
Right. Personally, I'd also put it at a 3, just because the eye's been getting better over the past while. But it is indeed a borderline case.
Yeah.
And on the
sorry.
on the screen, viewers, we have a closer look at the Dampier radar. So 29 minutes before the Bureau updates. I'm hoping that they might do it earlier. I have mentioned that the stream will come to an end at the top of the hour, but we might just push it a little bit back so we can bring the latest information. And as I mentioned, the Sims wind shear information isn't available at this point in time. However, in the last half an hour, we might have a look at the developing tropical low over there in Fiji. The Fiji's area responsibility. The Mateo, France, and New Caledonia also monitoring. They haven't got any warnings in place. Tropical disturbance 06F is 1004 millibars, located near 13.7 degrees south, 164 degrees east. Position is poor based on the Himawari 8 visible imagery and remains slow moving. Deep convection lies to the north and east of the supposed low-level circulation centre report organisation. The system lies under a upper divergent area in a low to moderate sheared environment with moderate outflow. Sea surface temperature is around 29 degrees Celsius. Most global models have picked up the system moving it southwards with gradual intensification, and the Fiji has upgraded from low to moderate to high for in the next 24 to 48 hours. So Fiji has upgraded to moderate to high. We know that central pressure is actually one source is saying at 999 millibars.
Yeah. Now, I'd just like to highlight two things. This might not be a good calculation, but this is the best I got. According to my radar, it is around 105 to 98 kilometers away from Dampier. And also, Dampier is experiencing some very heavy rain. as the inner core keeps getting closer and closer and closer.
And to add on, right now the eye is starting to shrink substantially, and also just to the south, just around 29 miles from the eye, there's actually starting to become a split in the storm that's contributing from some eye wall. But there's a lot of convection, and they're starting to become a little open area or cut. That's going to open up from the eyes. So that's going to be interesting to see if that.
Now, for our
due to, like,
viewers, sorry. For our viewers, here's a look at the Himawari 8 satellite infrared for the western region. And the tropical cyclone Francisco, it died. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center has finalised their position, and they now have it as the remnants. I'm just checking to see if they've got any additional information. No. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center has, I think it's medium for the tropical low 06F 91P, and they have it at medium, and probably around 11 UTC or 12 UTC they could upgrade to high, although the biometeorology will update their position in about 4 hours from now.
Okay. I just want to cover two things right now. The eye has been shrinking. Apparently, it's now down to 15 miles per hour. 15 miles. And this could be an indication of further intensification as this gets closer to the coast. And I do believe Ethan is back in the stream.
Welcome back.
Yep,
Ethan.
thank you for covering me while gone. We do also now have 2 team members joining us. We have Funny Comics King and MJO with us.
Hello.
How are you both doing?
Doing good.
So looking at this storm now, it's obviously undergone some significant warming of its southern would it be right to call it 120 miles?
Yes, I would agree with that. Just because, yes, with the eye wall shrinking, but also with that patch that is starting to, or like a weak spot that's starting to form, and the eye is starting to kind of corrode itself just a little bit in from the southern side. So I would down it to 120 now, due to that. So Ethan, I think you're right with that one.
Yeah, that. Sorry, please go, Merritt. You haven't been talking.
Oh, it's fine. I'd currently leave it at 115, mainly due to that gap in the south eye wall. I believe it's quite a large gap with negative 40s, I believe.
Yes, and it's definitely trying to get that eye patched up. From the latest imagery, you can tell that ring is trying to finally get attached with its other side, and that might allow for more intensification, but only time will tell.
My analysis right now, I think I might bring it up to 115. I'm still a little hesitant to bring it up to 120 at the moment due to the structure of the eye and its messy appearance.
So what are we seeing for current surface observations on the ground from this system?
Tropical storm force winds are now officially through Karata.
Sustained?
From
Would those be sustained winds?
Yeah, sustained winds are over 40 miles an hour there now.
All right, that's really step one for them. Get through the system.
Yep, that is true.
Yeah.
So, has the projected landfall time shifted?
I would say that it remains mostly the same.
Yeah, as time moves on, I think it's probably around like 6 hours 45 away. I don't know. I'm losing track of time.
Now for the team, I have the NOAA floater. I wanted two. The next one will be VOIC. Looking at the screen, there seems to be a bit of an opening to the south of the eye.
Yep.
Yep, there's that opening. That's really what's hindering it right now.
Which
Exactly.
represents what?
It probably dry air intrusion.
Exactly. I would say either dry air intrusion or just weak spot that's having trouble with covering convection, but it's most likely a dry spot. So
Looking,
honestly, I think.
Go on.
Honestly, I think this is what could have kept this thing from intensifying even faster than it is right now. The dry air intrusion problem.
Yes, this spot seems to be limiting the storm's intensification phase by quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it started around probably an hour ago when the break started forming. But it's starting to cover it up. It looks like the eye wall will soon be the main banding around the eye wall will be reformed, and will probably start intensifying a bit faster now. Maybe once it's done, you can call that 120.
So, whilst I have indicated that we will bring the stream to a close at the top of the hour, we'll just push that back a little bit longer so we can bring to you the latest information. But we will continue to bring the latest information. Ethan has already put out a video update, and I'll be keeping a close eye on it via the AU channel, and it's turning out to be a very busy time down here in the southern hemisphere. I wasn't really expecting it to be this busy. We got 91p as we've mentioned, and 93p. That's another system that I'll be keeping a close eye on. For the east coast of Australia, I'm currently under a flood watch. The Bureau of Meteorology has actually issued a severe thunderstorm warning. I haven't checked the information for my area, but all the activity is going to be down along the southern, central, east coastal region. There's a trough, and the Bureau of Meteorology is indicating that we could see multiple low pressure cells or lows develop, although there could be one main one. It's quite a while since we've seen an east coast low down around Sydney, but the east coast of Australia from my location down to the Victorian border are currently under a severe weather warning. The flood watch goes from my area right down to nearly the Victorian border, and we have flood warnings, flood watches in place, and to compound the overall situation, we have the tropical low, 91p, could edge across to my region and possibly track down towards the southern region of New South Wales. So it's all happening.
Quite what a situation over there in Australia.
Well, I could
Yeah.
consider what has gone on over there in the United States, and we had tropical cyclone Francisco over there in the southwest Indian Ocean, and it just collapsed.
Yep.
Alright, what I've been noticing with the models lately is that they're shifting towards around a 45Z to 7Z landfall at the moment.
That gap in the eye wall looks to have closed off now.
Yep. And
So I would say that the system is probably going to intensify significantly. Latest Dvorak numbers are pushing T 6.0, which would mean that is probably a mid-range category 3 at this point, with winds of 120 miles per hour.
So Mike, sorry, please keep on.
It is intensifying a little bit quickly at this time.
And before you come in, Luke, for the viewers on the screen now, it should be the Dvorak. So, Ethan, looking at the Dvorak imagery, and what are the other team members' thoughts on it?
I should point out also the eye has grown back to 17, almost 18 miles wide now. So the eye is definitely growing back again. With that weak spot getting filled back up, the eye has grown around almost 2 to 3 miles now since that being fixed. So that'll be interesting to see if the storm starts to intensify even more now, or if it's just a thing that happens. So continue.
May I please add something? I just want to say, I would consider this a 120 miles per hour right now. I'm not sure about what you would say, but I also have another question. Does anyone know how warm this eye is?
Right now, it is in the positives. It is 15 degrees Celsius at this time.
Yep, it's intensified. It used to be around negative 29 earlier today, I believe, around there. And that means it's going to intensify more. Sorry, please go on.
Currently, sea surface temperatures where the system is around 29 to 28 Celsius. And now that the eye wall has closed off with it seems to be negative 50s, it will likely start to intensify further and possibly at a faster pace. So this is not good news for the city of, not sure how to properly pronounce it, Karatha, I think.
Yep, that's correct.
I want to point out that the closest point in land, which is just north of Burrup, that is currently 54 miles now. The way this is going, it actually could potentially and to make landfall just south, a little bit east of Karatha, and Karatha getting some of the eye wall potentially, and it could make landfall just let's say around a good 15 miles east of Karatha and a good 12 miles west of I don't know how to pronounce that. Gonorrhea. How you pronounce that? But yes. So this could just miss Karatha by 15 miles to the east, but they still could get the eye wall from the storm. So
Absolutely, it is important not to deter away from that the storm could deviate from its current forecasted track.
Speaking of that, has the time of landfall changed at all?
And we're still looking at around 70, looks like, at the moment.
to point out
Which-
the eye. Oh, sorry. Continue.
Which for those would probably be around morning, well, pretty much early morning for those in the United, and then afternoon for
Just to point out, the eye has grown to now 19 miles, and that puts it at 30 kilometers. So still growing substantially. So that's interesting to see.
The eye might not be 100% growing. It might just be clearing out further, because I don't think part of the edge of the eye is fully clear quite yet. But
True.
yes, it is. Now the eye is quite ragged, with that little gap still not being fully closed. But once it gets its act together, it could intensify.
Yep.
Probably quite a bit further. And again, that is if it gets its act together.
Yeah.
Don't know what'll happen.
Which it quite clearly is.
Yeah.
Yes, it seems to be right now.
It looks full steam ahead right now, and I think I will up my estimates to 120 right now. I'm not sure about you guys, but it looks to be intensifying a bit more now, and once it gets that ring around the eye, I don't know what could happen.
I'm gonna hold off on doing that right now. I'm gonna wait until it sustains for a bit, but
Okay.
after it sustains for a bit, 120
Yeah.
could easily be possible.
Yep.
Then again, that's just me taking a look at it right now. I'm not doing any of that right now.
it's been confirmed that JTWC is going to go with 95 knots in their next update.
Really?
Is that what the ATCF is running with? You just pull up the ATCF here.
So it looks like they're sticking with not a major yet.
I'm not seeing the update from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center yet, which they should be updating any moment now. If you do have any comments or questions, please do send them in the comments below in the live chat, and we will answer them in due course as the system is approaching the coastline. David, have you gotten any Bureau information yet?
No, but coming up on the screen, viewers, the Himawari 8 satellite imagery of the southwest Pacific region, and you can clearly see the tropical low 91P and to the east 93P. And
I do want to mention real quick that Southern Hemisphere invest, that 93P will probably dissipate, and the other invest 91P that will probably become a tropical cyclone within the next 48 hours, and will probably push towards the western portion of New Caledonia. Could even make landfall there, but what is certain is that this system is probably going to be a tropical cyclone by probably Sunday, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, the
And I
JTW.
think... Please go on.
Sorry. Anyway, the JTWC already dropped 93P from their graphic.
Yeah, I can give the current information for the going to the ATC app. Right now, it says it's 14 degrees south, 163.7 degrees east. It has maximum winds of 25 knots, which is 30 miles per hour, and a minimum central pressure of 999 millibars.
I just reloaded the RAM loop of Damien, and it's the gap in its eye wall has been filled up with negative 60s, and now it looks like a patch of negative 70s too. I will send the image.
I'm also getting a rough estimate right now. The eye is potentially either around 21. That's just a rough estimate as of now, and around 33 kilometers. So rough estimate of 21 miles radius and 33 kilometers radius. So whether that is just clearing out or it intensifying is to debate. So.
And I'm going to cut in the Vanuatu Meteorological Service are now on board for the tropical low issued at 7:40 a.m. At Port Vila. At 5 a.m. a tropical low 1000 millibars was located near 14.2 degrees south, 162.7 degrees east. The tropical system low is about 560 kilometres west-northwest of Malakuta. The potential for this system to become a tropical cyclone within the next 24 to 48 hours and move towards the Vanuatu group is moderate to high. The system is slow moving over the last 6 hours. Heavy rainfalls expected throughout Vanuatu group today. Flash flooding expected over low-lying areas close to the riverbanks, including coastal flooding. Rough to very rough seas expected with heavy swells over all open waters. Severe weather warnings for heavy rainfall for the northern central provinces. Marine strong wind warning for all coastal waters of the Vanuatu are current. The Vanuatu Meteorology Geohazards Department is closely monitoring the system and will issue the next information on the system at 6 p.m. today or earlier if the situation changes. So Vanuatu is now on board with the tropical low, invest 91p, and Ethan, I'll put it back to you and I'll just check on what Matteo France is saying.
Yep, this is really a southern hemisphere version of the recent Typhoon Kamuri. This storm is really intensifying as it comes into land. This really reminds me of the storm. It has a ragged eye, just like Kamuri.
Yep.
Has cloud top similar to Kamuri a little bit. So.
Yeah.
And
wait.
Apology, guys. Matteo Francis on board. They have the track. Apology to the viewers. The content on the screen. This is a developing scene over to my northeast. The primary focus has been on the Damien, and there's a strong risk of a moderate tropical depression digging between the southern Solomon Islands and eastern Vanuatu for the weekend. A lower risk exists in southeast Fiji for the following weekend. And the Matteo France New Caledonia is saying the activity on the north of the basin is to be monitored. The tropical depression is in formation in the area, could influence the weather over New Caledonia this weekend and beginning of next week. So that's the latest on the Invest 91p.
Ethan, do you want any land you want an update on how far the center of the storm is from land?
Ethan said he would be back.
Okay. Well, does anyone want? I'll just quickly actually do this real quick. Okay, so from the tip of Burrow, the storm is currently 45 miles from that location, and from Karatha, the storm is just around 60 miles center of the storm, and from Barrow Island, the storm is 79. From Gonorrhea, the storm is 66, and from Point Sampson, the storm is 67 miles. So that is most of the locations on the coast. I did miss a couple of locations since the islands are off the coast. That is mainly the coastal regions that are could be impacted by storms very soon. So.
I don't know if this is true or not, but it kind of does appear like on the map that you're using that the storm is kind of wobbling back and forth, kind of.
Yes, storms normally do that.
I mean,
A good example of a storm doing that was Typhoon Lakima.
yeah,
But
when it went through the Japan.
This
Okinawa Island.
system, the eyeball has repatched itself, and it actually has shrunk in size again. Not the eye, but the actual system. It is still not exactly the biggest system, but it is a lot larger than it was earlier.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Merritt, but the closest reading I'm getting to right now is around 59.5 miles away, and according to my from my reader that I'm using, where I'm getting a eye size of around 20 miles per hour. I mean 20 miles. Oh my god. With the 20 miles, yeah. And that's probably because it's clearing out there.
Okay, now as we come to a close for this live event, on the screen is the Dampier radar, and I'm just checking to see if they've updated. And they haven't updated as yet, so we're just standing by. Go on.
Oh yeah, I'm saying we're also refreshing, waiting for the update to come out. It's a little.
So, as I mentioned, a very active period down here in the southern hemisphere. Mateo, France, not La Reunion. New Caledonia has also got on its website the Invest 93p, or an area of interest. And so they've actually got the 91p in red, and the other one is yellow.
I mean, not too long ago, we've had the same tropical cyclones in the same location. We had Blake over here recently.
From what I can tell, the grays from the Hemorrhage, AHI target B14 infrared enhance, the grays are about to wrap around. This indicates some intensification, folks, and it's not good at all, and we might see maybe make a run for Cat 4 in the next 2 hours.
Well, the eye, sorry if I interrupted you, but the eye still is still clouded over just a teeny bit from the southern side. It's still clouded over just a little bit, but once that starts clearing up and going away, we could possibly see a storm that is either intensifying or could be quickly Category 4 status.
Well, we're just ready for the Bureau to update their information.
The eye wall, or the eye itself, has one big blob in the middle of warmth, but around the edges is still quite cool.
Yep.
So, and it's quite ragged still, but it definitely looks a lot better than it did just a few moments ago when it had that big hole in its eyeball.
Yep.
And it looks like the not 100% inflow channels, the rain bands, I think there's an extra one. Looking at the radar.
Yes, there are quite a few.
And we're just waiting for the Bureau to update, but in the meantime, I'll leave the radar. The Bureau updates, I think, every 5 minutes. I'm not sure, but I just had to readjust the screen.
Well, in the meantime, Funny Nick did ask a question whether this would become a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. There will probably make a run for it, and if it does, it will probably be brief.
Especially if the winds pick up, but if it changes to a west-southwest, then the picture changes once again.
Yeah. All I can say right now is that, to answer that Cat 4 question, is that once the site clears out and all things are set, the shear is not going to affect the system, most likely. And most likely it will start intensifying fast. And it's probably, we already know it's a Cat 3 right now, but it's probably strengthened a bit.
The main issue will probably be sustainability, mainly due to it probably making landfall within the next, I don't know, it seems maybe next, in between now and 5 hours, maybe a bit more, but it has to sustain a bit for it to actually get to the certain intensity, because it needs time to its winds to catch up.
Yes, of course. I wasn't saying that it was strengthening right now. I was saying that once it's set up, once this sustains, this is intensification, probably likely.
I'm fine. It's just they stop.
Right, so with the Bureau are now running late with their next advisory. I'm just waiting for them to update. As mentioned, we will be continuing to provide video content on Damien, and now we have this developing system over in WA, Fiji region, Vanuatu. Okay, team, what we'll do is we won't wait for the next advisory. Actually, they've just done it. Severe tropical cyclone Damien is causing gales over the central Pilbara coast. Very destructive winds, very heavy rainfall, storm surge expected as Damien crosses the coast near Dampier this afternoon. Port headland to Onslow, including Karratha, Dampier, Panaronica, Barrow Island, but not including Port Hedland, extending to adjacent inland parts to include Tom Price and Paraburdoo. That is the cyclone warning area. The watch zone is inland central Pilbara, northeast Gascoyne, including Newman and Mount Augustus. Category 3 sustained winds in the centre of 150 kilometres an hour with wind gusts to 205 kilometres an hour. Located within 20 kilometres of 19.8 degrees south, 116.4 degrees east, estimated to be 115 kilometres north-northwest of Karratha, 235 kilometres west-northwest of Port Hedland, and it continues to track south at 10 kilometres an hour. And the Bureau is saying it will be a severe tropical cyclone on landfall.
Yeah, I can confirm that the Bureau are no longer forecasting a Category 4 on the Australian scale.
Yes.
Yeah.
ATCF has also updated with 90 knots and a minimum central pressure of 966 millibars.
That's severely low. That's if you don't know how to convert knots to miles per hour.
That is
105.
103, which rounds up to 105, and that's 166 kilometers per hour.
That's 10 miles per hour lower than.
Hold up now. On the Bureau update, David, I'm just seeing that they've put the system back up to 90 miles per hour. And then it's sustained.
The sustained 150 kilometres an hour with gusts to 205.
Yep, that's slightly stronger than their last one.
Let me real quick.
I want to point out real quick that over the past around 30 minutes, this storm has been moving south-southwest. So the storm is starting to take a more westerly track. Now, that could bounce back a little bit, but right now the storm is southwesterly track from the past around 30 to 45 minutes.
So wait, are they saying it's 90 miles? Sustained from the Bureau News right now.
10 minutes sustained, yes.
Yeah, so that would be 105 per hour, 1 minute sustained.
Which that's what the JTWC has gone with.
Oh, okay.
So
that is. Oh, yes.
Sorry, guys. So basically, the watch zone or the warning zone remains the same, but as it draws possibly closer to the coast, the area is expanding inland, but landfall is expected sometime this afternoon, and it's only 9:15 over in WA.
Yep.
Damien seems to be tracking definitely more southeast now. Well, more south than east, but it's definitely not moving west very much anymore. So landfall will likely occur in the next.
Anyways, it has moved just around 19 miles in the past 6 hours. So with some of that slowing and fast going up, so moved around 19 miles in the past 6 hours. 6 to 7 hours.
Yeah. Can I ask a question, Ethan? How far away is it from landfall? What's the time?
It looks about 5 hours. Less than 5 hours now. 4 to 5 hours.
The most recent image I have from direct south of it is 80 miles to the closest, around 67 miles to the closest point in the coast, but to Burrup it is 65 miles, so
if we're sorry.
You're fine.
If we're saying this is our south, you're saying that is, what is it, 67 miles away from the coast?
from Burrup, it is just probably around 59 to 60 miles, and then from looking at Gonorrhea, it is just around 68, 69.
Okay, so if we divide that by 9, we get, oh my god, I'm gonna mess this up. 6 to 7 hours, which I don't think that's it.
I can do that real quick.
I mean, it's moving in a south-southeast position at this point.
Okay, so if you're going by that, then that would be 6 to 7 hours. I don't think it's that long though, but I think it's probably I don't know the exact calculations.
So on the screen is another look at the Himawari 8 satellite imagery, and I think it's heading west-southwest if you look at the last
Breaking news, the Bureau of Meteorology has updated. They just updated around 3 minutes ago. Let's see what they're saying the intensity is. Right now, I can't find the intensity, sorry.
90 miles per hour is what they're saying.
Okay.
10 minute?
Yeah, they're saying 150, which Ethan said is 90, right?
Yep, that's 10-minute sustained winds, so 90 miles per hour at this point.
So that would be 105 miles per hour, 1 minute.
Translated to 1 minute sustained wind to yes, roughly.
David, I want to point out, I do agree with you that I'm pretty sure the storm is taking a south-southwesterly track now. That could bounce back later, but right now it's taking more of a south-southwesterly track.
Something's just caught my eye. I think they're doing 2 hourly updates.
Oh.
What? Oh. That's what they
The
just
next
have to do
update's
an
in
hour.
about 45 minutes.
Oh.
They just updated it, so they're still doing hourly.
What have we got?
So, David, are you saying they just updated? Like, you're looking at the update right now, right?
Oh, these time zones, but they're 2 hours behind me.
They just
And they
updated
updated 17 minutes ago.
So, yeah, they're doing hourly, I think, because you said they're updating in 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, which will bring the next hour, so that's it'll be 10 o'clock. So the information that I broadcasted was 150 kilometres per hour with wind gusts to 205. That's as at 9 o'clock, which is 18 minutes ago, or 1 hour, 18. So on the screen is the Himawari 8 imagery. And guys, any closing comments?
Well, the system is
I
certainly
do want
under...
to point out that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I do want to point out that the sea surface temperatures currently, just before we go, around the storm are just around probably 28 to 29. Now, underneath the storm, they have gone to around 27 because the storm, of course. And as the more south it goes, that's going to be creeping into 26 and 25 degrees. That is the current sea surface temperature situation beneath the storm.
Yes. What is the estimated wind shear that could be? Is there any wind shear impacting the system at all?
Looking at it right now, I'm pulling it up.
Well,
Wind shear right now over the system is fair, I believe, at around 10 to 15 knots.
it probably won't affect the system that much, considering it doesn't have that much time over water left.
I
But
can't
that's
seem
just
to get the wind shear graphics, so unless someone else can get it, I can't get the.
speaking of graphics. Does anyone have any storm surge graphics? Because we haven't really talked about that.
The tide will be coming in. Actually, they'll probably return to the tide, so there'll probably be less risk on a low tide.
All right, Salad Sports asked the question whether 91P will get the tropical depression tag by the ATCF in the next 6 to 12 hours. At the moment, I am not really sure. I don't think so. I think it still needs some more time to develop. Pretty sure it'll probably be around like 24 hours or so.
Okay, so I have the wind shear graphic up right now, and currently, it looks to be just on the edge between 15 and 20. But the more south it goes, it's going to be getting into around 50 to 60. But right now, Olga Storm is just on a fine line between 10 and 20 degrees. Sorry, not 20 degrees, but 10 to 20 knots of wind shear. So, but as I said, the more south it goes, it's going to be rising to near 50 to 60. So,
I know we haven't been talking about this recently, so that's why I'm bringing it up. Some of the rain brands right now, Millstream, and Dampier, of course, and Karatha, as they're getting the worst of it right now. And right now the eye is looking a bit better. Each second I feel like I think the gap is gone now, but I'm not sure about that. And the eye's a bit ragged, but it is getting better.
We received another question. The wave heights near shore. Now, from the graphic I'm currently looking at, it does appear that they're around about 2 to 3 in the immediate shore, but they significantly rise to around 5 to 10 feet. And currently the maximum are 20 feet waves with descent.
looking at the eye. Oops.
So there is some significant wave heights with this system as it pushes towards the coast, quite clearly.
Looking at the eye is currently around 21 miles, and that equates to 34 kilometers. And so the eye is definitely very starting to clear itself out. Also, it's clearing itself out as well. Some of that axis stuff inside the eye is starting to break off and disappear. I don't know, Ethan. Do you have the eye temperature as of right now? I know the last time we had seen it was 15. So I don't know if it's warmer or if it's still the same.
The latest eye temperature is 16 degrees.
Yeah,
okay, so it's
Yeah, that's a bit higher than last time, but not by much.
The eye, again, still has a lot of cleaning up to do before it really starts to get itself fully together. Because right now, the 16 Celsius is probably in just one small area, while the rest of the eye is a bit cooler. But yes, it is a lot better than it was earlier. And it is definitely starting to clear itself up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Merritt, what do you think about that banding? I mean, not the banding, the eye wall. The cloud tops surrounding the eye walls are getting better because they're starting to attach, each other, connect, and that usually indicates better structure, therefore more intensifying.
Yep.
Yes. The eye wall has -60s and -70s. They're from the north to around the west. There's -70s surrounding the eye, and where that gap was is now full of -70s. The southeast side seems to still be the weakest, but it is much better than it was earlier. And yeah, it is continuing to strengthen, it seems, and getting its eye in a better and better shape. Each frame that comes out, as well as that gap, it's basically gone now, and it's becoming slightly more circular and
Yep.
less lobsided. So
And
yeah.
as the viewers of the stream, as you see, I put up this rainfall graphic. As you see, lots of heavy rainfall going on shore as you see right now from some of these bands. A good 50 to 55 millimeters in some places, and in places like Carafa, you're getting a good 30 to 35, if not more, millimeters an hour in some places. So I will leave this up for the time being until either go off air or leave it up for the time being, pretty much. So back to the team.
Yeah. And I just want to ask Ethan something.
Go ahead.
What do you think the intensity of the system is right now? Do you think it's changed at all?
I would probably go still with 120 miles per hour.
Okay, was that? Are we calling that official, or is that just your opinion?
Probably my opinion at this point.
Okay.
I would put it at I say 120, probably 954, with the way the eye is clearing out.
I will say real quick, sorry for interrupting you, Parker.
You're fine.
I will say that this system is looking progressively better in each frame, so this is likely an intensifying system at this time. And
there's no doubt about that, and
preparations need to be rushed to completion if they aren't already along the coastline.
It looks like there's a new convective burst beginning in where the eye wall was broken last with a blob of -80.
Yeah, not good at all.
Good point. So from Damien, currently 62 miles to the center of the storm, looking at the tip of Burnup, looking at around 52, looking at Noria, the coast, around 65. So the storm is definitely closing in at quite a decent pace.
Yeah, I would just like to say, to go off of what Ethan said about preparations, each second that ticks by, the closer this storm gets to the close, the less time you have to prepare. If you're watching this and if you're in the path of that system, you better get into your shelter immediately, make last second preparations, and probably go up high, because the water will start to rise soon as the storm surge comes in and as the tide and as the rain goes down.
In the newest frame, the eye has warmed up considerably from the 20 minutes ago frame. On Ramb, at least, the eye is definitely warmed and is definitely becoming more round.
This is intensifying.
And to say real quick, the eye is just now pushing around 22 miles wide. I'm almost 23, and radius is 36 kilometers. That would point it out to almost 23 miles wide. So definitely growing, but then clearing itself out too, especially with that MJ. We have that big blob of -80 that is currently blowing up.
What I've also noticed.
Please go on.
Sorry. What I've also noticed is that the eye looks to be becoming more circular.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a sign that it's continuing to intensify.
Yes, its eye is definitely clearing out, as well as its eye wall, and the rest of the system's looking a lot better.
I will start to screen share the soon, but I have the NOAA satellite. The NOAA satellite on. About to get it on right now. If you can see that, as you can see, this is edging closer and closer to the land, and that redness, those red colors are starting to connect. You can see that gap is getting gushed out of the eye wall of the eye, and now it's probably going to be covered up by convective bursts soon.
Luke, I would just like to let you know, those red colors, I believe, are negative 70s.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know these
Oh
scales.
no, it's fine. I'm just letting you know.
Thank you so much. Those reds got Shines Connect, so negative 70 eye wall. Not MJO, I'm sorry, Merit. Do you know what that equates to on category scale for Saffir-Simpson?
What
Okay.
was your question? Luke, what was your question earlier?
What does a negative 70 ring usually equate on the hurricane scale, the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale?
It typically depends on the eye temperature. If the eye temperature is around what the system is right now, you're probably looking at a Cat 4. Though if it's probably warmer than that, you're probably looking maybe towards Category 5.
Yeah.
On the Australian scale or the Saffir-Simpson scale?
On the
Saffir-Simpson.
Saffir-Simpson, this is definitely not good situation.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
I'll cut in response to a question about wave height for Dampier. Hurricane force seas northeasterly winds with dangerous seas. Hurricane force wind warning. Hazardous seas warning. Very large mid-period waves. Winds east-northeast 64 to 88 knots. Seas easterly at 30 feet at 11 seconds. And the observations for Lejeune Island at 9 a.m. local time. Easterly winds 82 kilometres an hour, gusting 100. In knots, it's 44, gusting 54, and essential pressure is 991.5.
And getting flashbacks of Tamiri, as that system rapidly intensified up to landfall. I know Ethan, you definitely paid close attention to that system. And do you think this bears some similarity?
Absolutely. The system absolutely has similarities to Kamuri. It is intensifying quite quickly as it nears land. It has a ragged eye, has cloud tops very similar, but not at the level of Kamuri. So Kamuri is probably the biggest parallel to this storm from the northern hemisphere. Probably, I'd say.
That's what I was thinking.
That's
Sorry,
not
Sam, please.
There is a slight difference, though. This system is a lot smaller, and also it seems like this system may, unlike Kamuri, have stronger winds, because in Kamuri, the ground level findings only found a pressure in the 960s. So this system looks to be quite similar, but
definitely bears the similarities.
It's cut in here, but I want to say thank you to Salad Sports for the $2 US donation. So thank you very much, Salad Sports.
Absolutely. If you do have any comments or questions, please do send them in at this time. As the system continues to track towards the coast. Now, would we appear likely with this recent intensification phase that the rainfall chances may be bumped up to 200 millimeters rainfall potentially?
Yeah, it seems that this system is currently undergoing rapid intensification, which is pretty bad, which is not good news.
Yeah. It's This definitely might reach Cat 4. The chances have gone up recently. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, but that's what my thoughts are.
At this point, I would say the latest RAM image does indeed conclude that that specific image is a Category 4, though I would not say that it is at this time, due to that
Yeah.
this is just a raw image and
Yeah.
that it needs to
Yeah.
hold for a few hours in order for
Yeah.
to get that intensity.
But definitely the chances have gone up.
Absolutely,
That,
they have. I would probably give the system right now a 50% chance at becoming a Category 4.
I would definitely agree with that.
And sorry to cut in, but I feel like
Yes.
if it does continue at this pace and does continue rapid intensify and does continue stuff, I feel like this my Seamount Land should say this might have a small chance to become a Category 5. If it does slow down and continues on its track the way it is, could potentially have a small chance to become a Category 5. Makes Seamount Landish, but that's just
Yeah,
potentially.
this scenario would reminisce that of Michael's back in 2018 when it made landfall in the Gulf Coast as a preliminary high-end Category 4, which was then upgraded to a Category 5.
Yeah, it's just seemed like recently that systems have started to slow down and rapidly intensify near the coast. If anyone else has noticed that trend recently.
Yeah, and this, I'm not saying that this is the cause of it, but I would say there is a possibility that the water can typically be warmer near the coast than it is off the coast due to due to the land it's interacting with. But there are several factors that go into it. But that's a possibility that sometimes the water can be warmer closer to shore than it is further out, because the land heats more rapidly than the water does, and kind of the land interaction might have an impact on how quickly or how slowly the heat content is near the shore.
Just want to,
but I can't confirm that.
Based on the sea surface temperature map that I'm looking at, it does not look like the sea surface temperatures are warmer near the coast. It gets cooler as it goes south. But the eye has warmed again, and it is slightly more uneven now, though, due to a convective burst on the side where the eyeball collapsed earlier. But it is definitely intensifying.
Point out that we now have this is I still ragged, but we have pushing out almost 23 miles radius, and now would bring up to 37 kilometers in radius. So even though it is still ragged, it is somewhat growing still, but with that latest convective burst, that is going to hinder that just a little bit. Estimation there, but other than that, we have still pushing just around 23 miles and 37.
Hmm. 85 is Spain.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, and something interesting to look out for. Obviously, doesn't relate to the current situation, like right now, on what the impacts are. But this will probably leave a trail of water. Very interesting to see.
Absolutely. We do have a few questions that have come in. Could it intensify right into landfall like Harvey, Kamuri, or Haiyan? Absolutely.
Yeah. Based on what it's been doing recently, it seems like that definitely could happen, but I'm not too sure that it will become like rapidly intensify once it gets closer to the coast, though. Well, in
No.
the terms of strengthen much further than it has been recently. But yes, there is a chance for that to happen. The Australian basin is notorious for having systems with the brown ocean effect,
Yep.
which is systems
Yeah.
intensifying over land. A good example is Kelvin of 2018. So
We also saw that with Tropical Storm Alberto from coming up from the Gulf Coast and surviving in pretty far north into the Great Lakes.
Yeah, and what another good example is, so basically how it works is that the land basically stores water, and sometimes sometimes the systems can survive off of it. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, I forgot what year it was, but Tropical Storm Aaron had an eye over Oklahoma, I think. And sorry to bring that up, but Parker, what you wanted to update on something, didn't you?
I was just going to point out the current distances from land. So at the edge of Burrup, currently 53 miles from the storm center. From Carafa, around 63. From Dampier, around 60. And then from Gnoria, or how do you say it, around 68. And from some of the smaller islands, Rosemary Island, it is currently around 30, between 45 miles from the storm center. So the storm is slowly and steadily getting there to the coast. So
those islands look to be pretty close to the eye wall. So
Yeah, they're about to feel the worst. Sorry, I interrupted you, Mike.
also want to point out, while we have this recent blow up in convection is currently starting to cover the eye, and the eye, quote unquote, shrinking, but it's still there. It's just convection is starting to shorten. The eye is still pointed out there.
yes, that's the convective burst I mentioned a minute ago from where the break in the eye wall happened earlier this evening.
For those of you for those of you who don't know, in this case it means it's intensifying right now, and the main theme of the hour has been, wow, this system's starting to pick up. That gap has disappeared, and now it has the chance at Cat 4.
And if you don't, Category 4 would be, I believe, around 130 miles an hour.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the Category 4 threshold.
Right now, I believe we have it at 115. Well, it could be 120. It's just sustained.
We need to wait for it to sustain for longer.
Yes. And I know the rainfall graphics are up right now, and there's definitely a lot of rain, and seek shelter. Time is dwindling at the moment.
Another thing in the storm that seems to be enhancing its intensification phase right now is the outflow is really good on the system.
The outflow, particularly to the south, is
Yes.
yeah. My apologies in there. It's quite remarkable.
And it is. It's just. It's. It's been so weird to see lately how systems have just ramped it up near the landfall, and it's starting to bring concerns on. Wait, should I? You need to prepare earlier because this is happening more and more,
Exactly.
and it's not getting any better.
Like at this point, all preparations should be rushed to completion. You should either have. This makes me wonder: are there any mandatory evacuations in place in for those in the path of the storm?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I just want to give an update on where it's likely going to landfall. It's probably going to landfall, according to the Bureau of Meteorology, west of Dampier. And that will probably give it some time to find more.
If you do have any comments or questions as the storm pushes towards the south, please do send them in the comments below, and we will get to them and answer your question as soon as we possibly can. So, Parker, what's the latest estimate for the position? Last time I heard it was around 70 miles from land at this point, from the outer edge of the eye wall.
And how fast is that going?
I believe it is moving slightly faster, around 9 to 10 miles per hour at this point.
So if it's 70 miles, probably like around 65, then divide that, and you get around 9 hours, which
Looking solely off of satellite imagery, the outer edge of the southern eye wall is almost touching the shoreline.
Yep, getting closer to landfall.
Once
Now,
again, our latest estimate on this storm is winds of 120 miles per hour at this point, as it pushes towards the south, towards the coastline.
Sorry, I was on mute for that. But currently, the storm is Legendary Island is currently 48 miles from the storm, but they are starting to feel the effects of the outer eye wall. Rosemary Island is just around 40 miles from the center. Burrup right now is 62 miles. Karatha is looking at still around 70 now with the center, and then the Dampier is looking at 68. So some of those outer islands like Legendary Island are going to be feeling the effects of the eye wall and also effects of the pretty soon. So that's the current distance land, and the eye. I'll check it right now. The eye has actually shrunk to around 16 miles, so it went down from 23 to around 16 with this latest blow up in convection. So it's possibly intensifying as of right now, but the eye will be slowly covering up as well. So, team, you want to talk about that? You can.
Yeah, this probably indicates some further intensification. I know I've repeated this, but it's what's happening.
So are we looking at another eye wall replacement cycle, perhaps?
No.
Absolutely not, Samuel. This is an intensifying system as it comes to inland.
So
50% chance of reaching Category 4 intensity at this point.
Yeah. Sorry.
Fine. So currently, around the eye, on the northeast side of the storm, there's currently around a 84-mile radius of pretty around 70 to 75 cloud top on the northern side, and looking to the south, there is a good ring coming around that is just around, let's say, 69 miles around the storm side. Black frame of -75 cloud tops.
Parker,
Yes,
that
MJ.
frame that frame you're on looks to be a little old. It has the break in the south eye wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the south
And
eye wall.
There we go. That's
Are
better.
break just as a question, are breaks in the south eye wall an indication of strengthening or the opposite?
No, it's the opposite.
It was probably a dry air intrusion.
So, can I take this? Sorry. So basically, what happened? Probably a dry air intrusion happened, as Merritt said, and it limited the storm's intensity for a bit, but it's gone over it. As you can see right now, those cloud tops, those gray cloud tops, are surrounding the eye. Not good at all.
I just updated my image, and the eye it's just again around 21 miles. Sorry for the thing earlier. Around 21 miles wide in radius, and that translates to 34 kilometers wide. And looking at the distance from miles, so Legendary Island is currently 42 miles from the center of the storm, and Gidley Island is 47. Looking down at Burrup is roughly 54 miles, and that would make Karatha probably around. Let's look. Karatha is probably around 65 miles, and Gnoria is roughly 70 miles from the storm. So with those recent updates, it is currently that far from center. Not center, from making landfall.
So, Ethan, do you want to announce something?
No thanks.
Okay.
Ethan, I have a question. What is the current eye temperature now that it has slightly warmed? It seems.
The latest eye temperature is actually remaining at 16 Celsius at this time.
Okay. So it hasn't warmed much.
So it is holding steady.
The little there was a little intrusion in the eye, a little spot of -40s, or -50s. It seems to be attaching to the main wall of convection now, and it'll probably go away in not too long, and the eye will become more even. It is the south eye wall again is looking very weak, with -60s and -50s.
So it appears to be cooling.
-70s.
That southern eye wall is not. It has been the weak part of the storm so far.
I think that may mainly be due to
land,
the dry air, or land. It could be weakening on the southern side to land. The northern side is still doing.
Yep.
It's interesting because on radar, the exact opposite. Radar shows actually a strong southern eye, and a strong southern side, but the northern side is weak. It's very weird.
Sorry to cut in real quick. Question in the comments. Slayer Tracks say, 413 current estimate on Damien. I think we all went with, I want to say around 120. Not too long ago with this recent looking of the eye. 120, and what was the pressure estimate, Ethan?
I believe it was 956.
Yep, at this time, 120 miles per hour, 956 millibars.
Yep. So that is current estimation we have right now. Sooner we will be looking back at that. Take it away, team. So.
Oh, okay then.
The eye is definitely beginning to warm. If you live in, or if you have family that live anywhere in the area, if you live in any of the area, make sure to try and get contact if the power hasn't already gone out, and let them know to get to shelter. This is a particularly dangerous situation to the city of Karatha, where it seems like it will make a pretty close landfall to that system.
Yeah, exactly.
Area.
This is warranting. It's definitely an emergency situation for those areas. immediate to the coast.
I just want to say that the warmer, if you don't know this, is the warmer the eye temperature, the more likely this is intensified. Say if they had the eye temperature of like -10, we wouldn't think it's intensifying much. But since it has an eye temperature of what, like 17, 16, was it?
Yes.
We know that this system is intensified. I think Dorian or systems like that had an eye temperature of like +20 around there.
Dorian had an eye temperature of 23, 24 Celsius.
Yes, above 20, and if we see it go over there, we know bad's happening.
I don't think it quite has enough time to organize its eye that much, but it may if it continues to move slower. But I'm not too sure it will do that, based on the current speed estimations and what satellite imagery is showing.
So,
Yeah.
Dave, I'm sorry.
No, please go on. I'll talk.
David, I've just put out my screen. If you want to look, recap of some of the warnings in Australia from the Cyclone Damien and some of those flood warnings as well while we're here. If you want to do that, I have the imagery up. So if you want to do that, you can.
Activate the mic. Okay, the Bureau will be updating any minute. And we have a hurricane force wind warning for the Pilbara east and west coast. Strong wind warning, Nigaloo coast, Gascoyne, Geraldton, the Ewan, Albany, Esperance coast. Storm force wind warning will be in place for the Pilbara coast east tomorrow. And
I just. Sorry.
All right.
Can I? Sorry, no, you.
Thank you. Well, unfortunately, we are going to have to call the stream here. We are going to be ending the stream here. Any closing thoughts from the team before we go?
I just want to say, if you are in the path of this storm or anywhere along the west coast of Australia near this storm, please make sure you have your emergency plans in place. They should all be rushed to completion at this point. Those of you along the coast are running out of time, so make sure that you take shelter and prepare for strong winds and very and potentially deadly storm surge. This is a very dangerous system that is about to make landfall within hours. So
what I'd like to say is that this system's probably either 120 or 1 per hour right now. Most likely, it might be a Cat 4 at landfall. You have no minute to spare preparing. If you don't do that, it's your fault. You have to prepare, and it's important that you do that.
exactly.
Want to do a quick roundup on some distances and location, or you just want to go off?
I would like to say one last thing real quick. The south eye wall may collapse again, just briefly, because it is weakening still. But yes, this is still a very dangerous storm. Even if the south eye wall does collapse by landfall, it still is a very dangerous storm. Could produce serious storm surge, quite a lot of rain, and some quite strong winds. So yes, if you live anywhere around that area, sure that they're safe, and yeah.
All right, just want to point out before we go, I is currently rough estimate of 24 miles wide and looking at some locations. So currently from Legendary Island, the storm is around 52 miles, but it is currently enduring the outer eye wall. So that is going to be happening there. And on Rosemary Island, the storm is just around 45 miles away from the center. Now going down near Burrup, the storm is currently 53 miles from the center. Looking down at Karatha, the storm is just around 75 miles from that coast. And looking one more at Gonorrhea, it is currently 66 miles there. So those are the final location distances from the center of the storm. Take it away, team.
All right, well, this is going to be the end of this stream here. Thank you for watching, and stay safe out there in Western Australia under this storm. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Stay safe.
And a special thank you to the viewers. As I mentioned earlier, it's not very often that I have control of the main channel, but as I've indicated in the chat, Nathan is to return to his HQ on Sunday, and he is looking at a possible live event. Could be the UK channel. It looks like there is a system developing, and we will continue to bring the latest information on the systems down here in the southern hemisphere. So for now, it's goodbye.